Lessons from a beatdown. I spend every Sunday night playing in a men's ice hockey league in downtown Oakland. I face off against a lot of aging dudes convinced that their moves in the game might be Stanley Cup worthy. Then there are the guys in the league who've only recently put on skates and yet immediately want to crush anyone who plays better than them, while crying to the ref to call a penalty when they trip and fall. One night I took a hit that left me in a daze on the bench. It was a deliberate illegal elbow to the head. There was no penalty called. And number 68, I still have your number, and I will take you down again in revenge at the next face-off. And yeah, I know you're pushing 50. I really don't care. Then there was a check from behind after the whistle, which knocked me into my goalie and created this whole pile in front of the net. I shook that one off. Next time I said to the guy, try and make it hurt. Not that I'm just a punching bag out there. There was the game the ref told my bench, tell number 18 to take it easy on the old guys. But January 9th, 2011 was a game changer. I parked a block away from the rink in the new uptown area of Oakland on 18th Street between San Pablo and Telegraph. It was only 7:30 p.m., but you could anticipate that shit might go down. Idleness hung in the air. Guys sat in cars and stood outside of not yet open clubs. The vibe was strange. Since people's cars get broken into all of the time, I decided to bring my purse with me instead of leaving it in the trunk of my car. So walking into the rink for my game, I had my giant gear bag and purse on my left arm and my hockey stick on my right. As I headed up the street, I noticed two kids walking towards me, one listening to an iPod and singing, being a teenager, the other, head and shoulders taller than his friend, stopping to give $1 to the homeless guy, Eddie, outside the rink entrance. Eddie is the resident door opener and car minder for the players. He thanked the boys. The interaction brought a smile to my face. Just another night in Oakland. After the kids passed me, things changed. The tall kid turned back and yanked on my purse. Give me your bag! His fist hit my temple twice, hard. I started yelling and ducking, give me my shit! While my bag remained tangled in my hockey cargo. He kept punching me as I screamed for him to get off. Suddenly, I realized what I had in my right hand. My hockey stick. I wielded that Bauer stick like a sword. I whacked him on the back hard until the punching stopped. The kids ran away. Holy shit, did that seriously just happen? I got into a fight before I even put my gear on. I shook it off like a lousy hit in the game, checked to make sure nothing fell out of my purse, wallet, check, bag of Sephora makeup, check. I then checked to make sure my goal scoring power 67 was unscathed. Tape was still wrapped around the blade, paint intact. My stick was fine, so I must be fine. I opened the doors to the rink and went in to play my game. The rink manager at the front desk asked if I was okay and if I wanted to call the cops. I suddenly felt like everyone there knew what had happened and just hadn't done anything, like fans in the stands. I looked over his shoulder to find out what locker my team had been assigned and shrugged. I needed to focus on the game. Those beat-down fuckers were not going to stand between me and my hockey. Sitting out the game would mean that they won. They didn't get my bag, and they weren't going to get my hockey. I mumbled I was fine. When I got to the locker room, the team looked up at me stunned, like brothers. I guess you can't hide it when you've just been punched in the face. Suddenly the pain set in. My head throbbed. I'd never been punched in the head before. Too bad I hadn't been wearing my helmet. I started tearing up as they asked me questions. I just fell into my pattern of putting on my pads, lacing my skates. Let's go win the game tonight, I said. During the period break, 2 officers approached our bench. I took off my helmet and gave my report. After I gave the rundown, they asked me what I wanted to do about it. Being the first assault of my life, I really didn't know the multiple choice options. I was still in shock. I have no idea what I said. You know, cops are like refs. They can keep the peace, but they can't stop the hits from coming. We ended up losing the game. I know it would be a sweeter story if we won, but it's hockey. Kind of win, lose, you know, it's a game. When we left, Eddie was standing outside where I had left him. I wasn't sure what to say. He'd witnessed me getting beat up, and I wasn't sure if he could have tried to stop it. His face was so sad and filled with compassion. Please let me walk you to your car, he said. Accompanied by a teammate and the newly established Kaitlin always gets a carpool rule, The three of us walked as he told us that he had wanted to intervene with his fist, but he stopped himself. I agreed. Further violence would have only made things worse. It turned out he followed the kids, walking slowly at a distance, all the way to one of the kids' houses. He knew their parents and was going to report it to the police, as he was not going to let this violence happen on his block. My team decided to continue our Sunday ritual, going to the bar. As I sat amongst the guys with a bag of ice on my swollen face, we talked about assault. Nearly everyone at the table had been beaten up, mugged, or violated, and talked openly about it. No one pretended to be the tough guy, nor the man hiding feelings and pain. Each said what had happened to them, how it took months to heal emotionally, and how they dealt with lingering fears. The amazing thing is that although the Oakland Police Department didn't file my police report that night, misplaced the videotape evidence of the assault, and forgot to provide my refiled police report to the DA, I experienced everything a victim would hope for from the justice system. Oakland Ice Setter and Eddie were 100% determined to make the neighborhood safer and inspired me to stand up and have the courage to prosecute. 3 days after the incident, I stood on the street, knees buckling, and through my bruised eye identified the assailant, accompanied by my teammate, Eddie, and the rink managers. 2 weeks later, the DA subpoenaed me to testify in court, facing off against the teenage assailant with his mother sitting behind him. I pretended my hockey team was standing behind me in that courtroom, and 2 weeks later, they delivered the verdict. Penalties last 2 minutes in hockey. You serve 2 minutes for an incident that may have built up over the game, but typically lasts 3 seconds. In the box, you sit and stare at a game that is being played without you. The kid who attacked me turned out to be 15 years old, about the age I was when I started drilling people on the ice. Now, I'm not about to do the whole compassion for my attacker thing, if you thought that's where I was going. But that is just something to note. The judge gave him probation. I don't know how I feel about the justice system. Frankly, I think the kid is either going to figure out he fucked up, or he's going to learn how to be a better fighter from the other juveniles, who will likely berate him for not being able to get the job done, and for being beat down by a chick. As for me, I still carpool to the rink and most places at night. I encourage other women to take self-defense classes because the one I took 13 years ago clearly helped me. And I'm still playing hockey every Sunday. We even went on to win our division championship in March. I wish I could say I'm going easier on those old guys instead of sending them into the boards, but it's hockey, and that's part of the game. Thank you.